Hare Krishna. My name is Kaunteya Das, and I am substituting my wife, Sri Radha Govinda Dasi, today because she's not feeling well. She's here with me, but she has got fever and other disturbances. So she asked me, Hare Krishna. My name is Kaunteya Das, and I am substituting my wife, Sri Radha Govinda Dasi, today because she's not feeling well. She's here. Okay, so I understand that yesterday she did a section on glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So today we start from an invocation that Krishna Dharma Prabhu provides in his book. So this will be more like, of course, a summarized study of the Bhagavatam. So good morning if you are this side of the world, or good night if you are some other hemisphere. Okay, so I'll share the screen, and if anybody has any at any point has any or comment, please feel free to jump in. Okay, I hope you could see this is the invocation. And we are on the book, Brilliant as the Sun, a retelling of Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, the Sages of Naimisharanya. This is the invocation. To you, the all-pervading Lord, I offer all esteem, from whom the worlds originate, on whom they do depend, which seeming real to gods and men are but passing dreams that you bring back into yourself when time comes to its end. Supreme Godhead, who taught Brahma, cosmic creator, nothing is unknown to you, nor can it ever be, for all existence must move according to your law. On you my mind does always dwell, who dwells eternally, above illusions sway, reality. By the way, some of you might have recognized this is a rendering in poetry of the first Bhagavatam verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Jamadisya Tunvaya Ditaratas Charteshva Brighaskarat Brahma Rida Vikavai Suraya Vijovari Mrida Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Risargo Mrasha Damnam Svinam Sada Nirastakvakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 1. And number 2 is a poetic rendering of verse 2. This beautiful Bhagavata does the highest truth contain, devoid of all deception, to free us from all pain. Only known by those who are released from matter's thrall, destroying delusion for the benefit of all. Compiled by sage Vyasadeva, it will reveal the Lord to any who with faith do read its transcendental words. Number 3, poetic rendering of verse number 3. Men of wisdom and of taste, please relish this fine fruit. of the wish-fulfilling tree of ancient Vedic lore. Made sweeter still by the lips of Shuka, sage astute, it does bestow on all a bliss that lasts forevermore. Okay, so for those who came a little late, I'm Kaunteya Das, and I am substituting my wife, Shirada Govinda Dasi, who is not feeling so well today. Okay, questions by the sages. At the dawn of the dark age known as Kali Yuga, a great concourse of sages assembled at the holy site of. They questioned the sage Sutta Goswami as to the best means of ameliorating the evils of the impending age. Sutta has just returned from a lengthy pilgrimage, during which he heard a profound spiritual discourse from the erudite mystic Shukadeva Goswami. The sages asked Sutta 6 questions. What is the most beneficial for humanity? What is the essence of all scriptures? Why does Krishna appear as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki? Describe Krishna's pastimes. Describes the pastimes of Krishna's other incarnations, including that of creation. Number 6, in whom did religious principles take shelter after Krishna left this world? As you could see, these numbers, as you could see, these numbers, these were a summary of the 6 questions that throughout the chapter sages ask. Om Swaha Swaha Swaha. The crackling of the sacrificial fires as priests fed them with ladles of ghee was drowned out by the sages' loud chanting of sacred incantations. As the sun rose over Naimisharanya forest, the priests manning the fires exchanged places with those reciting the mantras. Blackened by the smoke, they went to the nearby river to bathe. The elderly Shaunaka, son of the celestial sage Bhrigu, walked from one fire to another, checking with the chief priests to ensure they had all they needed to continue their sacrifice. Bring more firewood here, he called out to the runners. As he turned toward the next fire, a young Brahmin hurried towards him. Oh, Holy One, the revered Sutta Goswami has returned. Shaunaka's eyes widened in happiness. Sutta's back? Where is he? Bathing in the river, my lord. I just came from there. Shaunaka immediately assembled a greeting party. As they walked to the river, they chanted prayers glorifying the spiritual master. In the early morning light, they saw the elderly Sutta, still wet from his bath, walking towards them, smiling broadly and holding his water pot, a mendicant's staff. Shaunaka and the welcoming party bowed down on the soft sand in obeisance, and Sutta returned their respects, rising. They tightly embraced. Welcome back, dear Sutta, said Shaunaka. We have missed you. The two friends walked side by side, surrounded by the others, who continued to chant. When they arrived at the sacrificial fires, Sutta sat upon a straw mat, and the sages, eager to hear his news, surrounded him. Dear Brahmins, began Sutta, I congratulate you on your dedication to your service here. For a long time, you have maintained this great sacrifice to supplicate the Supreme Lord. Your mission is crucial for the world's good. Thank you, Sutta, said Shaunaka. Still, we are haunted by the doubt that our efforts may not be enough. Sutta looked at the disheartened sages with compassion. In that respect, I have good news. After traveling far and wide, by the Lord's grace, I had the good fortune to hear from Vyasadeva's exalted son, Shukadeva Goswami. Some sages called out, "What did you learn from him? Pray tell us. Did he say anything about the poor souls suffering in the dark age of Kali?" Shaunaka asked anxiously. Sorry. Sutta nodded sadly. Yes, he described in some detail the horrific conditions of this age. Animals will be slaughtered mercilessly. Children, women, and the elderly will be neglected and abused. Neighbor will cheat neighbor. The earth's fertility will gradually reduce and there will be no rain. Rice, wheat, milk, sugar, and other staple foods will eventually disappear. At the end of Kali Yuga, if a person lives for 20 to 30 years, he will be considered an old man. People will be foolish, easily cheated by false religious teachers. They will be persecuted and overtaxed by the government, so much so that giving up their heart and homes, they will run to the forest and hills in disappointment and confusion. In the end, mothers and fathers will consume their children. As he spoke, Shaunaka's and the other sages' faces contorted with sorrow. This is worse than we imagined, said Shaunaka. I fear our sacrifices will not be sufficient. Sutta reassured the sages, my dear friends, be peaceful at heart. Shukadeva also taught the most effective method for countering these limits. Where did you meet the illustrious Shukadeva? Asked Shaunaka. Sutta's countenance became grave. My dear brothers, I met him on the banks of the holy rivers Ganges near Hastinapura. He had arrived there to assist the emperor of the world, King Parikshit, to prepare for his death. A great wail of disbelief arose from the assembly. The mighty Parikshit dead? How? Many called out, asking Sutta to explain. Shaunaka raised his hands to quieten the assembly. Be patient. Sutta has traveled for many months. He is tired. We can question him more after he is rested and refreshed. It was decided that the next morning Sutta would address the sages. That evening, some of the younger men constructed an elevated seat on a small mound in the center of the sacrificial arena. Everyone wanted to hear Sutta speak. The sages decided to simply keep the fire burning, but to suspend the rituals. We need not chant mantras, said Shaunaka. Sutta's discourse will be sufficient. Another sage said, brothers, let us appoint one amongst us to speak on behalf of us all. We can confer with him. Otherwise, if everyone is constantly calling out questions, Sutta will find it hard to speak. Shaunaka was elected to pose the questions. For several hours, he sat in conference with other senior sages to determine what questions he should put to Sutta. The next morning, Sutta took his seat with due ceremony, and Shaunaka sat on a platform a little below him. The other sages sat in a great semicircle around the two friends. Shaunaka commenced the proceedings. Dear Sutta Goswami, you are the eldest and wisest amongst all us. You have thoroughly studied and taught the Puranas, the Mahabharata, and all the scriptures describing religious duties. You are acquainted with the teachings of the great Vyasadeva, the Lord's literary incarnation, and you have heard from other erudite sages. Surely they have bestowed upon you all knowledge due to your gentle and submissive nature. Pray tell us what you have scientifically learned from them. Sutta bowed his head. He was hardly worthy of the sage's plaudits. He was a mere messenger whose duty was to pass on the teachings of his great master without adulteration. Folding his palms, he said, I shall tell you everything I have learned. Yes, Sutta, said Shonaka, you have traveled for years and have surely heard much. It would take much time for you to repeat it all. We have therefore prepared 6 questions, which we would like you to answer. Well, then ask. Shaunaka folded his palms. As you know, it sounds like someone needs to mute himself or herself. Shaunaka folded his palms. As you know, we have gathered here to perform a 1,000-year sacrifice to benefit the people of Kali Yuga. Initially, we wanted to improve their material happiness by propitiating the gods. However, after hearing from your late father, so let's go back. Initially, we wanted to improve their material happiness by propitiating the gods. However, after hearing from your late father, Romaharshan, we learned that such happiness automatically follows spiritual advancement. Please, therefore, tell us in a simplified and concise matter what you have ascertained to be the ultimate spiritual good for all people. Is there some way the ordinary man can easily become free from misery and achieve eternal happiness? Sutta smiled. You are all intelligent sages. Let me explain to you the various spiritual attainments one may seek, and you can decide which is best. Shaunaka shook his head. There is confusion on this point, and these are difficult times. No one will live long enough to make an extensive study of scripture in order to determine life's highest aim. Even if they have a sufficient lifespan, they have no inclination to study. Of those who might try, very few have the intelligence to understand.
Android? That's a phone name.
And they will not have access to learn a person who can help them. Even with such association, they are likely to be afflicted by bodily and mental woes that will obstruct them from serious spiritual inquiry. If they do make such an attempt, they may still come to the wrong conclusion. Please, therefore, give us a clear answer. Very well, said Sutta. I will try my best to respond. What is your second question? Shaunaka continued. We would like to know the best means for attaining life's goal in this dark age. There are numerous scriptures describing countless duties. It takes many years to properly understand and apply all these injunctions. Please tell us which of them are essential and will benefit everyone in all circumstances. Sutta's eyes expanded and his face lit up with a broad smile. These were perfect questions aimed at attaining life's greatest good, not just some temporary benefit soon lost in time. Thank you, dear Shaunaka. Your inquiries are most enlivening. What else do you wish to know? O Sutta, all blessings on you. You know the reasons for Krishna's appearance as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. It is hard to understand why he and his divine brother Balaram perform so many human-like pastimes, such as playing like young children and dancing with the gopis. These activities are so different from those of other avatars. Please explain his purpose, as you have heard it from the great masters. For we feel sure this will benefit everyone. As he spoke about Krishna, Shaunaka's mind became infused with spiritual happiness. Surely there is something wonderful about Krishna's appearance. Then in a more serious tone he added, living beings entangled in the complicated mesh of birth and death are immediately freed by even unconsciously chanting his holy name, which drives away the fear of death. Indeed, we have also heard that Krishna's power is such that those who surrender to him can liberate anyone. Such devotees are said to be more purifying than the sacred Ganges, for simply by seeing them one benefits. Therefore, we are sure that by understanding the mystery of Krishna's appearance and activities, we can better aid the people of Kali Yuga. So, Hare Krishna, let's take a pause. For those who came later, I'm Kaunteya Das. I'm substituting Shri Radha Govinda Dasi, who's not feeling well. Now, this, after the glorification of the holy name and its power, maybe could be a good time to take a pause. And is there any question or any comment, any aspect that you like to explore a little more in depth? Anybody wants to say anything? Anybody wants to raise their hand? Anybody has any question on what we read? Okay, so I'll go back to the book and I'll keep reading. So, see. Feel free to jump in. We are moving towards the end of the session. So if anybody has anything to ask us to say, just speak, because I won't be seeing your electronic hands while I'm reading. Your deduction is most intelligent, said Sutta. Krishna's pastimes are indeed significant. What are your other questions? Supreme Lord's acts are so magnificent and gracious. The great liberated saints like Narada sing of them. Please, therefore, describe Krishna's glorious activities. Who is that person desiring liberation from the miseries of the Kali Yuga age? Kali age, who would not want to hear about them? Please also describe the pastimes of other incarnations, including those of universal creation, maintenance, and destruction. All the Lord's activities are transcendental and auspicious. Lifting the corner of his mouth in an amused smile, Sutta replied, "This will take much time. Krishna performs unlimited pastimes, and his avatars are countless." Shaunaka paused for a moment. Was Sutta disinclined to speak? Did he think they might not be ready to hear about Krishna? Shaunaka folded his palms to speak again. He needed to stress how keen they were to hear from Sutta. He said, "O Sutta, we are now tired of our sacrifices and other practices, but we never tired of hearing about Krishna." Turning to the assembled sages for confirmation, he continued, "I think all of us would agree that this is time well spent. Indeed, spiritual advanced souls relish such talks constantly." The others cheered loudly, expressing their agreement with Shaunaka. Sutta's eyes twinkled mischievously. "I'm a little surprised that great Brahmins like yourselves, absorbed in ritualistic sacrifices, should be so enthusiastic to hear about the Lord." Shaunaka looked over at the fires and then looked back to Sutta with a solemn expression. "We already knew the age of Kali has begun, but after what you told us yesterday, we realized just how much degradation and suffering it will bring. We have now lost interest in our 1,000-year sacrifice, doubting its efficacy, but we are ready to spend the time hearing about Krishna instead. We thank Providence for sending you to guide us safely to the other side of this terrible age by delivering the message of Krishna, just like a ship's captain guiding his vessel across the ocean." Sutta praised Shaunaka and the sages for their thoughtful inquiries and humbly replied, "I'm merely the Lord's instrument, conveying his messages. Please let me know your sixth and final questions." When Lord Krishna was present, he protected religious principles. Now that he has departed, how will they be preserved? A flock of birds flew into the sky from a blossoming branch, sending down a shower of flower petals. The birds' cries mixed with the calls of peacocks, sounding from the forest, as Sutta began to speak. And so does end the first chapter. This rendition, this is a literary rendition in English of the first chapter, question by the sages. And this sets the scene. There is the desire by the sages to help suffering humanity. That's the function of the Brahmanas in society, to help people, both materially and spiritually. And these were very elevated sages. And Krishna arranged that Sutta Goswami appeared in their midst, and he was especially qualified because he was just coming from another assembly, from Hastinapura, the capital of the empire, an assembly in which Parikshit Maharaj was fasting to death, and he was learning about the goal of life, the absolute truth, from Shukadeva Goswami. So he was eminently qualified to share with the sages what he had heard. And the Bhagavatam, it's all a sequence of questions and answers. The whole Bhagavatam is within this dialogue between Shaunaka and Sutta, besides few verses spoken specifically by Vyasadeva, like the first three. But 99.99% of the Bhagavatam is within this questions by Shaunaka on behalf of the sages and Sutta Goswami's answers. And then, as we will see, they will include other series of questions and answers from Shukadeva Goswami, from Maharaj Parikshit to Shukadeva Goswami, from Vidura to Maitreya, and so many other conversations from Maharaj Parikshit to Narada Muni, from Kunti Devi to Krishna, and from Rukmini Devi to Krishna. So the Bhagavatam is a series of intertwined dialogues centered on questions and answers. So I hope this was of inspiration for you. Eventually, of course, we should read the Bhagavatam. We should taste the Sanskrit. Ideally, we should learn a few verses, but we are entering, we would say, in a literary form. So today was the invocation, which is part of the first chapter, and the first chapter, the questions by the sage. So if you are this side of the world, in India, I wish you a great day and a great japa now. If you are somewhere else, I wish you a good night. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hopefully my wife, Shirada Govinda Dasi, will feel well tomorrow, and so she can continue this program. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Dandavat pranams.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.